I've had an unbelievable life. I've been very lucky. You do create your own luck too, you know. I never forget where I'm from." Sometimes it seems that this actor has found the elixir of immortality, because he does not seem to grow old, and in his 70s with a penny remains a desirable man for millions of women around the world. Innate magnetism and mystery, good manners, and unconditional talent forever put Irish actor Liam Neeson in the list of the most successful stars in Hollywood. But was it so easy for him to achieve fame? What is the secret of its natural attractiveness, which is difficult for women to resist? What tragedy changed his perception of the world forever? Why did he want to kill a black man? And why doesn't the hero of action movies like weapons? You will learn much more about this in our video today. You're watching the Biographer channel. Get comfortable, and we are getting started. William John Neeson was born on June 7, 1952 in Ballymena County, Antrim, Northern Ireland. For his parents, Bernard Barney Neeson and Catherine Kitty Neeson, he was a real gift of fate and an only son. Before his birth, the family already had two girls, Elizabeth and Bernadette, and after that there was also Rosalie. William was nicknamed Liam in the family, partly because his sisters found it difficult to pronounce his name and partly after a local priest. Although Ballymena was a Protestant town, the Neesons were Roman Catholics. Their small community was friendly and close-knit. The family was known and respected in the city. Barney worked as a school caretaker, and his mother was also a cook there. They lived in a small house with 3 bedrooms, one for their parents, one for the girls, and the smallest for Liam. As a boy, Neeson was a recluse, doing everything at his own pace and in his own time, and was not a fan of any changes in life, especially sudden ones. Most of all, he loved his aunt from the family, and this love was mutual. He always liked to keep himself to himself, but he was always so willing to please. You never saw a child who was so helpful and conscientious. His aunt also mentioned that Liam was very purposeful, and if he really wanted something, he made every effort to achieve it. However, he never went over their heads and was always concerned about other people's feelings. The boy grew up mainly in a women's team, and because of this was shy and often closed in on himself. His older sister Elizabeth explained it this way. It wasn't a typical family. One boy and all these females around. I think Liam truly was a bit intimidated by it, especially when all our girlfriends came around. He'd take off for his room and you wouldn't see him till there was some peace in the house again. Barney was worried that his son might become a real outsider and confessed this to his friend, Father Darach, who offered to send Liam to boxing at the church youth club. So at the age of 9, a tall, lanky boy started taking boxing lessons. To the surprise of everyone, the guy turned out to have natural abilities for this sport. Liam himself did not share this opinion at first. He just wanted to please his father by agreeing to this adventure. It wasn't until Neeson started winning that he really got into rage. When lads start boxing young like he did, you see their character being formed. They know where they're heading in life. Liam never would have got there if it hadn't been for boxing. Nothing distracted Liam's attention from boxing back then. He was focused and engaged almost every day, especially on weekends. One of his sparring partners recalled that Neeson lived in boxing, and this was manifested not only in intense training in the ring or the gym. His bathroom was covered with posters of famous boxers, and Liam himself was becoming more and more ambitious. At the age of 14, he paved his way to the title of Ulster Youth Heavyweight Champion, and he got it for 3 successive years. There was even talk that in the future, Neeson would be able to represent Northern Ireland at the Commonwealth Games, and later at the Olympic Games. At the same time, he did not forget to study at all and never sacrificed his studies for the sake of sports. By the way, his mother, Kitty, was more concerned not with his training, but with the fact that her son devotes too much time to studying, fearing that he would overload himself. Liam was an exemplary child, with good manners, polite, and obedient. But the boxing star from Neeson still did not work out, and all because of his unwillingness to continue. One day after another fight, he felt that something was wrong. My brain just went, "It was very, very scary," Neeson admitted. "I didn't talk about it. I just thought to myself, that's it. Get out of it now." Since then, he only needed one defeat to put an end to his boxing classes, and it did not slow down in the final of the All-Irish Championship. The victory was then assigned to his opponent based on the number of points earned, and Liam, disappointed and broken by the unfair decision of the judges, finally told his father that boxing was over. He kept his word. By the way, thanks to Neeson's defeat, the Boxing Association then raised the issue of fair judging and a few years later achieved positive results in this, and several rules regarding judging and scoring points were changed. Liam himself needed to direct his energy in a different direction, which he did when he found himself in amateur drama. However, this hobby was preceded by a slightly different one. The fact is that the Neeson house had a special time to watch TV, but these few hours a day were enough to make Liam fall in love with the world of cinema. When he grew up, he started asking his mother to let him go to the movies. After getting permission, he disappeared there for hours. He spent all his pocket money watching movies, agreeing to any part-time job in order to continue financing his hobby. By then, you could watch up to 14 different movies a week, so Liam watched them all. Often, he was the only one who sat in a movie theater, but he didn't care. He lived at the cinema. I was just so into it. Maybe it was just pure good luck that I found what I wanted to do and found myself in it and eventually ended up here, but there's times when I feel I almost willed my career into existence. Way back then in the state cinema. But the trips to the cinema did not last very long. In order not to go bankrupt, the cinema started showing adult films. Neeson admitted that he went to several of them, but the entire staff of the cinema knew him, so he was embarrassed to watch such frank films. So he switched to reading books in his room and also plunged headlong into the school drama. Liam started playing in school plays at the age of 11 when a young teacher, Jerry McKeown, joined them at St. Patrick's School. From the very beginning, he encouraged his students to engage in drama. He noticed Liam immediately, and no wonder because he was a head taller than all his classmates and was sitting at the first desk. Jerry gave Neeson the lead role of the protecting father, thwarting the suitors who relentlessly pursued his daughter in the school play based on the Irish legend, The Wooing of Emmer. Neeson approached this role and the subsequent ones with all the seriousness of a diligent student, and his intro version only helped him do that. He was always willing, endlessly, to keep practicing until he got it right. He did his homework, neatly and thoroughly, and later when he started to do scripted drama, he worked tirelessly in his own time too. Therefore, natural perseverance, diligence, and purposefulness were added to the natural talent, and his teacher was so pleased with his student's progress on stage that he entrusted him with the main role in John Millington Synge's play, Riders to the Sea. This one was distinguished from other productions by the language, namely Irish, which Liam did not speak and had no idea exactly what this literary work was about. So he had to learn his lines phonetically, word for word, which wasn't easy, and Neeson wasn't thrilled about it. But the results of his efforts exceeded the expectations of the teacher, the audience, and Liam himself. Since then, he's participated in all productions with pleasure. After graduating from high school, Neeson entered Ballymena Technical College, but spent his free time with Jerry, who founded the Amateur Dramatic Society, and read a lot so as not to look ignorant in such an educated circle. I wanted to learn, to be as knowledgeable as them, Neeson admitted. Besides, he was becoming more and more attractive. His nose, which was broken during his boxing years, did not interfere with him either. However, in addition to his attractive appearance, there was also a natural charm and mystery that made him even more desirable for the female half of humanity. But he didn't know how to handle girls yet. All his teenage years, he could only dream that one day he would meet the most beautiful woman in Hollywood. In the meantime, he sublimated all his energy into a literal knowledge of himself and the limits of his sexuality. He inadvertently told about this during a confession to an African missionary priest who visited his church. Even then, there was a long queue for the father, mostly elderly women. Liam began to talk about the relationships in his family and did not fail to tell the father that he had learned to satisfy himself. He was unpleasantly shocked by this confession.
He almost said things like, "The grass will grow out of the palm of your hand before you're 21. Stop that evil practice." He's shouting this. And I'm immediately thinking, I have to leave this, and there's all these old women praying outside.
Who can hear everything?
Who can hear everything, especially him.
That was the last time I ever went, the actor admitted. In general, Liam has repeatedly noted that being a Catholic in a predominantly Protestant city was not easy, and this made him cautious. And once he even said that he felt like a second-class citizen there. But Liam also noted that he was never made to feel inferior or even different at the city's predominantly Protestant technical college. It would be colorful to imagine I had a rebellious, uproarious Irish background, he said, but the facts were much grayer. Irish, yes, but all that nationalistic stuff, crying into your Guinness and singing rebel songs, that was never my scene. In 1971, he began studying physics and computer science at Queen's University, Belfast, before going to work at the Guinness Brewery. At university, he discovered a talent for football and was noticed by Sean Thomas of the Bohemian FC Football Club. There were club auditions in Dublin, and Neeson played one game replacing a player against Shamrock Rovers FC, but did not get a contract. Neeson wasn't particularly interested in Northern Ireland's politics or history at the time until he learned of fellow students' protests after Bloody Sunday, the 1972 Derry massacre during the turmoil. This prompted him to learn more about the local history. In a 2009 interview, he said, I never stopped thinking about the troubles. I've known guys and girls who've been perpetrators of violence and victims, Protestants and Catholics. It's part of my DNA. After graduating from university, Neeson returned to Ballymena, where he worked various casual jobs such as a loader operator in Guinness and a truck driver. He also attended Teachers College for 2 years in Newcastle upon Tyne before returning to his hometown. So how did the young man get into the world of cinema? Working in various jobs, Liam even then cherished the dream of making a living as an actor. He spent all his free time with the amateur theater troupe of his former teacher, Jerry McKeown, improving his acting skills. But he quickly felt that he needed to change something for the sake of his dream. It was necessary to leave the comfort of your hometown and strive to break through in the big city. So in 1976, he joined the Lyric Players Theatre in Belfast, where he performed for 2 years. He got there because of his role as Cinderella's sister, which became a landmark for him. The play combined 2 things Neeson hadn't done before: pantomime and comedy. The comical nature of the situation was emphasized by his high growth and complete immersion in the role. One of his friends, Niall McCabe, recalled, quote, "There he was, this enormous, angular fella, all togged up in a flouncy frock, stocking, suspenders, and stilettos. You just had to look at him and that sets you off." He camped it up no end too, pouting and blowing kisses at the audience. It was after this performance that his colleagues in the shop realized that nothing was impossible for Liam, and that he was really destined to be a great actor. By the way, the comedic side of the actor is not particularly noticeable in his most famous role, an action hero. However, even at an advanced age, Neeson has not lost his sense of humor and is happy to act in comedy scenes and sketches.
I watch you when you're sleeping. Oh yeah, I know when you're awake. I know. I'm making a list and checking it twice. I'm going to find out who's naughty or nice.
His first film experience was in 1977 when he played Jesus Christ and an evangelist in the religious film Pilgrim's Progress. It was quite an interesting experience because he even had to be crucified on the cross for some time. Of course, not really, but the sensations, according to the actor, were not pleasant. Neeson didn't last long in Belfast. It was necessary to move on, progress in his career, and there it was not. So Liam went to Dublin without any special acquaintances or a clear plan. There he worked at the Gate Theatre, the Project, and the Peacock before getting a job at the Dublin Abbey Theatre. While working at the Project Theatre, he got a role in the play Streamers, where he had to run around the stage without clothes. One of the theater workers recalled, "Usually a naked man is the most ridiculous sight you can hope to see. This was not the case with Liam Neeson. Once the word got out, it was a full house every night. The girls were practically queuing around the block." Neeson himself was finally beginning to realize his attractiveness among women, and his self-confidence was growing every day. One of his girlfriends, Jeanette, said, "He would focus on you like you were the only important person in the world, and it was his world, but he was welcoming you in. He made a girl feel like he wanted her heart, body, and soul." At the same time, Neeson did not like to brag about his success on the love front. It was impossible to see him on a date, and the girls he dated even after the breakup were not in the habit of sharing intimate details of their romance. But Neeson used his natural charm not only in his personal life but also in acting. That's why he was often given the main roles. He progressed in his career and changed theaters. One of the actresses recalled that Liam never gave up. He just wanted to win the love of the audience who went to his performances. When Neeson was already working at the Abbey Theatre, director John Boorman came to one of the plays with his participation, who was then recruiting actors for his epic film Excalibur. The film was based on the legend of King Arthur and his Knights of the Round Table. Boorman was pleasantly impressed by the performance of the young and promising Neeson and wanted to meet him after the performance. They met in a pub, discussed Liam's prospects, and a few days later he received the script. Everything was happening so fast, but the actor didn't realize that the choice of the role itself wasn't up to him. So he read the script and called Boorman to let him know that he would play Pendragon. There was a pause on the other end of the phone, and then he heard, "I'm afraid someone else is playing that part." So Liam learned that the choice of roles is always up to the director, and got his hero, Sir Gawain. And since then, Neeson has set himself the goal of becoming such a good actor that in the future he will choose his own projects and roles in them. Excalibur has become a real training ground for Liam. This was where his transition from theater to cinema took place. Fortunately for him, Boorman did everything with methodical precision, telling everyone where to stand, what to do, where to look, and what to say. And the very epic nature of the production could not fail to impress the young actor. I think it was why I got hooked. The film industry really got under my skin in a big way with this. Suddenly I was bursting with this wonderful new euphoria. Aspiring film director Neil Jordan, who made a documentary about the film Excalibur and later became a Hollywood director, became friends with Liam and later offered him a role in his comedy, High Spirits. Neeson already realized that she needed to be friendly with everyone on the set because you never know which of them fate will bring you together. It was the filming of an epic drama that made a great impression on the young actor. He liked to wear knight's armor and sit on a horse. It was like a dream come true, Neeson said, telling this Arthurian myth, this story that's thousands of years old. It was just something. In addition, director John Boorman was a kind of mentor for the actors. Every time he shot a scene, Boorman explained in detail to the actors what was required of them, where to look, what to do, and why it was important to do it this way and not otherwise. Therefore, after the filming was completed, the actor gained invaluable experience for which he was very grateful to the director. But the greatest success happened in Neeson's personal life because on the set, he met Helen Mirren, a woman with whom he will spend the next 4 years of his life. Liam admitted that it was love at first sight. I remember being on the set and standing with Kieran Hinds as Helen walked towards us dressed in her full Morgana Le Fay costume, and we both went, "Oh, fuck," he said. I was smitten. I think Kieran was too, but I was very smitten. Helen was 34 at the time. Liam was 27, and he knew about the reputation of an actress who was considered a heartthrob, but that didn't stop young Neeson. Tired of the impudent courtship of not the best representatives of the male half of humanity, Mirren craved a certain mundane, and she found it in a charming Irish man who won her heart. Neeson realized that Helen had fallen in love with him, oddly enough, watching her walk. Before I met her and we worked together, I had read somewhere that if she fancied a guy, she would imitate his walk behind his back, and I turned around one day and she was doing that to me. He said, Liam took Helen to meet his parents, and the actress was amazed by the small house in which he once lived. She liked the down-to-earth nature of her lover, his simplicity. But her entourage did not take Mirren's choice seriously, considering Neeson another toy of an expressive actress. But very quickly, everyone realized that this was a real relationship. Helen introduced Liam to the bohemians of London at that time, took him to special events and parties. At one of them, Neeson met Muhammad Ali, a boxing legend, an idol of Neeson from his boxing years. Liam admitted that he was very nervous at the time.
And he's making his way towards me, and I thought, he's going to get to me, and I have to say something to him, And literally, my knees started shaking like that. And he got to me, and I held his hand and went, Muhammad, I love you.
And then Ali started flirting with Helen, and at that moment Neeson thought, wow, Muhammad Ali is flirting with my girlfriend. For Helen herself, Liam was the wall behind which it was so comfortable to hide from everyday worries. Mirren also mentioned that her favorite holidays were camping with Liam. We would drive down to France, find a campsite, and Liam would cook breakfast. She said, can you imagine Liam in a tent? He's 6'4". We didn't date. We lived together for 4 years. We were a serious item for a while. Mirren said, lucky me. The useful connections he made thanks to Helen proved valuable. Neeson was noticed and started offering roles. Initially, these were small roles in several BBC projects, and then an appearance in O'Casey's The Plough and the Stars at the Royal Exchange Theatre in Manchester in 1984. But Neeson wasn't happy. It was not easy for an Irishman to succeed in England. He was interrupted by random roles and filming commercials. The competition was terrible, and Liam had another terrible habit of biting his nails. His hands looked terrible then. Once he went to a casting call for a carpet ad where he was supposed to portray a salesman. When the camera showed a close-up of his hands with his nails gnawed almost at the root, he was refused. I didn't get the job, but I stopped chewing my nails. The actor later noted. The low income from casual earnings compared to the state of his beloved annoyed Neeson. In order to become more independent, the actor moved from Mirren to a small apartment, first in West and then South London. Gradually, he was invited to interviews and the public found out about him. Liam did not disclose the details of his personal life with Mirren, and this further fueled the interest of the female audience. At that time, he worked in 4 television series. As an 84-year-old man in A Woman of Substance and its sequel Hold the Dream, in Ellis Island, where he met his idol Richard Burton, and in If Tomorrow Comes, where Liam played the French detective André Trinault, where he developed an interesting Franco-English accent. To do this, he spent 2 weeks in Paris trying to catch the nuances of pronunciation of local residents. It wasn't a dream job yet, but the series made Neeson recognizable. He gained invaluable experience in front of the camera, and his income increased significantly. In addition, all the series, without exception, became successful, and critics gave them mostly positive reviews. In 1984, he finally got another role in a big movie. and the 1962 remake of Mutiny on the Bounty, directed by Roger Donaldson. The film stars Anthony Hopkins and Mel Gibson. Neeson also got the role of rebellious seaman Charles Churchill. Filming took place in Tahiti and New Zealand and was grueling, mostly because of the endless wait for their scenes. Liam was not allowed to leave the set, so he spent most of his time in his trailer reading books. In the US, the film was released in May 1984, but in the UK, it was postponed until Christmas. The film was generally well received by critics. They were praised mainly for the film's realism and historical accuracy, as well as for Hopkins' performance. However, it did not live up to its budget, earning more than $18 million at the global box office, with a budget of $20 million. Neeson had gone home. Although not for long, he soon got a role in the drama The Innocent, about life in Yorkshire during the Great Depression of the 1930s. But the film was so depressing that no one went to the cinemas to watch it. However, in the same year, 1985, another drama called Lamb was released with Neeson, which this time did not leave the audience indifferent. Liam played the main role here, the priest. It's ironic how I ended up in this playing the part of a priest because I truly, seriously thought about joining the priesthood when I was a boy. I was that devout. For Liam, this role was special. Long before filming, he read the book on which the film was made, and according to him, even then he thought that if the film was made, he'd like to play a priest. His colleague on the set was 10-year-old actor Hugh O'Connor, with whom Neeson began a friendly relationship. The film was warmly received in the UK, but for America it turned out to be too esoteric and depressing. Americans love happy endings, which was not in the picture, so it was not successful overseas. However, for Neeson himself, Lamb remains one of his most beloved films. Observers of the actor's career began to notice that Liam had stopped appearing in the theater, to which he replied that he wanted to participate in one production a year so as not to forget the skills of playing on stage. And it wasn't the lack of offers. Back in 1984, he was contacted by representatives of the Royal Shakespeare Company and offered a role in Arthur Miller's play The Crucible, but Neeson refused because he wanted to focus more on his film career. Helen then supported this decision of her lover. By the way, their relationship at that time was already not the best, and love had long faded, so the couple decided to break up. There were rumors that Neeson used Mirren and her connections to promote his career, but the actor did not comment on this in any way. Instead, he continued to be friends with Helen, saying that he was grateful to her for the experience she gave him. He left the rest of the questions about their relationship and breakup unanswered. Mirren herself was also laconic in the press, noting only that their separation was inevitable. We were not meant to be together in that way, but we loved each other very, very much. I love him deeply to this day. He's such an amazing guy. The actress did not grieve for long and very soon began a new relationship with director Taylor Hackford, who later became her husband. And Neeson himself did not have a serious relationship for a long time, preferring short affairs and new projects. His next work was the film The Mission, in which he again appeared in the image of a priest. Filming took place in the jungles of Colombia and took 4 months instead of the planned 3. There, Liam became friends with his Irish counterpart, actor Ray McNally. Ray was a guru to me. We acted together, socialized together. He directed me in so many ways, not just on stage, the actor noted. 3 years later, unfortunately, Ray died of a heart attack, and it was a real blow for Neeson. He kept the message from his friend on his answering machine for a long time, and it took him even longer to survive his death. But the real legend on the mission site was, of course, Robert De Niro. Liam was thrilled with him, and it was from De Niro that he learned his dedication to the process and painstaking preparation for the role. However, the biggest thing Neeson learned from filming was a return to his faith, which for a while faded into the background. Every day after a hard day's work, he spoke with Jesuit activist Daniel Berrigan on religious topics. They were often joined by De Niro, who played a missionary and wanted to get used to his role. Inspired by Berrigan's faith, Liam made him a kind of mentor, and the three of them often disappeared into the jungle to renew their knowledge of religion. In addition, it was after the mission that Neeson finally realized that acting was his life's destiny. Right then, I felt a new intensity about acting. There sometimes comes a point of your life where you wonder if you're doing the right thing. I've never doubted it in myself, but sometimes you wonder, when you're faced with parts that you feel aren't taking you in the direction you want to go, that's when you question, not what you're doing, but where you're going. Since then, Neeson has believed in his fate. This belief helped him get other roles as well. I was able to look deep inside me and see where that faith could lead people to put it before everything, even to the point where they would murder in the name of it. Neeson realized that he was no worse than many American actors he had worked with, and that he belonged in Hollywood, where he could prove it to everyone. The success of the film only emphasized this truth because the film won the Palme d'Or at the Cannes Film Festival, which had a positive impact on the actor's career. The new year, 1987, began with a move. Neeson went to the City of Angels to conquer Hollywood. But before that, he stopped by his friend Robert De Niro in New York, where he introduced him to his agent, Bonnie Timmerman. The work progressed quickly. Neeson got the role of the antagonist, Sean Caroon, an IRA terrorist disguised as a pacifist, in the first episode of the third season of the popular TV series Miami Vice that time, and this was already a ticket to Los Angeles. There, Neeson started working out intensively to get in shape. The competition there was frenzied. His athletic build will help him more than once in getting another role and attracting women. However, in the beginning, this unusual athletic appearance almost cost him his freedom. While walking in Beverly Hills, he was stopped by the police. They searched Liam because they thought he was some kind of dealer or criminal. In Los Angeles, no one just walks the streets, especially with such an atypical appearance for these parts. Of course, finding nothing illegal, the police released Neeson and he forever learned the lesson not to go where it's not necessary. After appearing in Miami Vice, Neeson switched to filming in the failed film Satisfaction, where he played an aged rock star. The actor was so unhappy with the result that he later said, "Unsatisfactory. I have no intention of ever seeing it." But it was on the set of this film that he met Julia Roberts. A spark immediately broke out between the actors. A few weeks later, they were already moving in together. Despite rumors in the press that the couple was together for more than a year, the relationship actually lasted only a few months. But they were very passionate and left a mark on the hearts of both stars. One of their mutual friends recalled, "They were absolutely nuts about each other. They couldn't keep their hands off each other. It was incredible to watch." But another person intervened in this ideal. At that time, Julia was offered a role in Steel Magnolias, and she plunged headlong to the project and into a new relationship, this time with another colleague on the set, Dylan McDermott, and Neeson was again left alone. The breakup was hard for him, but when Roberts realized her mistake and wanted to return, the doors of his heart were already closed to her. Julia didn't give up immediately. There were constant phone calls and emails, but Neeson didn't want to hear any of it. Apparently, his pride got the better of him, and the couple never reconciled. And Liam switched to the next project, the drama Duet for One, based on the play of the same name. Although the film was less successful than the play, Liam enjoyed a screen romance with actress Julie Andrews, even though his role was small. "It was nice," he said, "to get out of the cassock and have an affair with Julia Andrews. In fact, she is really very sexy." Andrews' husband, director Blake Edwards, is said to have tried to buy back the film to prevent it from being released. It wasn't really that bad, but it wasn't that good either, and although its rating on Rotten Tomatoes is 80%, critics unanimously stated, the actor's performance was excellent, but there's nothing interesting in the plot. For Neeson, the next project was the thriller A Prayer for the Dying, in which he appeared together with Mickey Rourke. Even before Liam appeared on the set, there were already passions boiling between producer Samuel Goldwyn, who did not like the interpretation of Rourke's script, and the culprit of the conflict himself. When Neeson arrived 2 weeks before filming, both actors, who had not known each other before, somehow immediately became friends. And soon after they met, Mickey invited Liam to a club, and there they got drunk to oblivion. What was Liam's surprise when a new scene at a Belfast bar later appeared in the script, which was based on the events of their nocturnal adventure. Goldwyn didn't like it, and as a result, it was cut out of the film. Since Rourke did not like rehearsals before filming, Neeson had to improvise himself, as a result of which many scenes had to be reshot several dozen times. Rourke was very eccentric. In one scene, the actress who played Liam's character's girlfriend was supposed to hide behind a tree and eavesdrop on a man's conversation, but Rourke constantly ran away from the set because of his phobia of being killed by a woman. Neeson reacted to such eccentricity quite calmly, so the scene was still shot and the film was released. However, like the previous film work, it did not receive much recognition. Liam was determined. The next film just had to be more successful than the previous ones. And he was right. The film Suspect became a real hit at the box office. Cher got the role of a lawyer defending a deaf-mute client from a murder charge, and this very client was played by Liam. But Neeson might not have gotten this role. Director Peter Yates liked the little-known Irishman, but the studio executives were against it. The actor noted that they wanted an American to play the role, even though his character did not have lines in the picture and no one would have heard his accent. Peter had to fight for his choice, and eventually the actor was approved for the role. Liam masterfully played his character, using, instead of speech, emotions and gestures, which eventually won the favor of the audience. Neeson immediately became friends with Cher, but the romance of the stars did not happen. The heart of the actress was already occupied.
Have you told me everything? Piece of cake.
Liam was increasingly focused on his career. In his hands was the script of the BBC TV play Sweet As You Are, directed by Angela Pope, who raised the topic of AIDS, which was very relevant at that time. Neeson himself had to take a test for this disease twice. Once before filming to feel what a person who may be ill feels. Another time it was a routine test when the actor had intestinal problems. Both tests were negative. You owe it to yourself to be cautious, and to everyone else you come in contact with. Personally, I've never been very promiscuous, even though this profession is renowned for changing relationships at a rapid pace. The role of a college teacher who contracted HIV after a brief affair with one of his female students suited Neeson perfectly. The audience was imbued with the fate of his hero, and critics were delighted with the acting of the Irishman. On the IMDb website, the movie's rating is 7.1 out of 10. In 1988, he co-starred with Clint Eastwood in the fifth film in the Dirty Harry film series, The Dead Pool, in the role of Peter Swan, a horror film director. Neeson enjoyed working with Eastwood. However, the neo-noir thriller did not particularly appeal to the audience and became the least successful of the series. On Rotten Tomatoes, the film has an approval rating of 53%, where the consensus of critics states, while it offers its fair share of violent thrills and tough wit, The Dead Pool ends the Dirty Harry series on an uninspired note. The film also received 46 points out of 100 on Metacritic, and at the box office, The Dead Pool earned only $38 million, which makes it the least profitable of the 5 films in the Dirty Harry series. Another failure? It doesn't matter. 2 years later, Neeson tries his hand at Sam Raimi's superhero film, Darkman. For the lead role, Raimi was looking for someone who could play a monster with the soul of a man, and he needed an actor who could do that beneath a lot of makeup. And he liked Neeson's old Gary Cooper charisma. The actor was attracted to the plot and the inner anxiety of his character. To prepare for the role, Neeson contacted the Phoenix Society for Burn Survivors, an organization that supports the emotional and social healing of burn survivors. Neeson sometimes worked 18 hours at 10-piece prosthetic makeup. He took such heavy makeup as a challenge and liked the idea of working behind a mask on camera and just exploring the possibilities of what that entailed. He and makeup designer Tony Gardner conducted tests using special adhesives, foams, and bandages. They also determined the time how quickly they could apply makeup and put on a suit. Neeson also worked with a costume designer on his outfit, including a raincoat. The most difficult thing for the actor was to talk with false teeth, and as a result, he worked hard on his voice. "I didn't want the false teeth to move at all," Neeson noted. The film was quite successful, both at the box office and among critics. For example, Los Angeles Times film critic Michael Wilmington believed that Darkman was the only film at that time that, quote, successfully conveys the graphic look, rhythm, and style of superhero books. And in the TV program At the Movies, Gene Siskel and Roger Ebert gave the film 2 thumbs up. Both noted how original and stylized Raimi's sense of direction was, and Siskel added that Darkman, as a character, was interesting.
It was a very simple story of a guy trying to look after his child.
Yeah.
But I did think it was straight to video.
You thought it was a rubbishy script, really?
I didn't think it was rubbishy. I just thought, no, it's straight to video. It was like, it's simple.
At 36, Neeson was still a bachelor, living alone in his home near Venice Beach and riding a Harley-Davidson motorcycle. He liked to spend time alone and did not look for friends for joint parties. "I like to spend a lot of my time on my own, within my own 4 walls. I don't need to go outside for too much. I read books. An awful lot of books." Liam was pretty happy in his bubble until, in February 1989, sad news came from home. During the filming of the thriller Next of Kin, Neeson learned that his father had passed away in his sleep. Liam immediately went home to pay his last respects. It was a beautiful celebration of his life, the actor later recalled. During the funeral ceremony, as Liam was carrying his father's coffin, one of Barney's old friends approached him and whispered, quote, "I hear you've been working with Clint Eastwood, Liam." Neeson admitted that at first he had a desire to put the coffin and punch him in the face. However, the absurdity of the situation made him laugh. "My father would have loved this. He would have laughed at it," the actor later added. The following year, during the promotion of a new film, the sports drama The Big Man, where Neeson played an unemployed miner who seeks to make money by fighting in the ring, the actor told a reporter that he was back in a romantic relationship. The chosen one this time was Barbra Streisand. The affair was short-lived, like all previous affairs of the star, but passionate, secret, and stormy. But it was not destined to develop into something serious again. The actor did not have a serious relationship, and he was often seen surrounded by beautiful girls. But then Brooke Shields, not the most successful actress, but the most desirable woman in Hollywood, appeared on the horizon. Her personal life has always generated a lot of gossip, and then she appeared in front of camera flashes on the arm of an impressive, mysterious Irishman, also with an engagement ring on her finger. which she called the friendship ring. The press was just going crazy, trying to get at least some details out of the star, but Liam was silent. Fortunately or unfortunately, the romance was just as fleeting, and a few months later the couple broke up. But did our ladies' man stay single? Of course not. In New York, the actor met Irish singer Sinead O'Connor, and the stars began dating. But Sinead, according to Liam's friends, was too needy, and Liam couldn't handle it. Therefore, this couple is not destined to become something more. Neeson might have continued drifting through a series of casual and short-lived affairs, if not for meeting a woman who would change his life forever. Who do you think would be a good match for this mysterious Irishman? Write in the comments and discuss it. After extremely successful films and high-profile short affairs, Neeson needed a change. The chance to change something came when the actress Natasha Richardson called him to invite him to play on Broadway. They revived Eugene O'Neill's play Anna Christie. Natasha saw Neeson only in the image of an Irish sailor, with whom her main character has a relationship. I think playwright Eugene O'Neill wrote that part for Liam Neeson, she said, noting that he was her first choice for the role. Liam doubted if he wanted to reconnect with the theater, but Richardson was persistent. She was not used to backing down, and this attracted the actor. The performance became a real hit and received positive reviews, and Liam was even nominated for Tony Awards for his role. But the most pleasant thing for the actor was that a spark quickly broke out between him and Natasha. I'd never had that kind of an explosive chemistry situation with an actor or actress. However, it was not so simple, because 29-year-old Natasha at that time was married to British producer Robert Fox, and Neeson himself did not have the most reliable reputation. However, a month after the last performance, Natasha filed for divorce from Fox. It was just beginning with Neeson. Working with him, what happened between us, and that became public knowledge in conjunction with my marriage falling apart, was kind of bad timing, the actress said. So what can I say? Obviously, I fell very much in love with him. The time for the new romance coincided with the filming of Steven Spielberg's legendary Schindler's List, in which Liam got the main role of Oskar Schindler, a German businessman who saved 1,300 Polish factory workers from Nazi concentration camps. Spielberg carried the idea of turning a famous book into a movie for more than 10 years. Everything was slowed down by the script, which the first screenwriter, Kurt Lüdke, wrote for 4 years, eventually having only 30 pages. In desperation, Spielberg turned to another screenwriter, Steven Zaillian, who successfully finished what his colleague started. In addition, Spielberg initially wanted to act only as a producer and offered the director's chair to Roman Polanski, Sidney Pollack, and Martin Scorsese. But for one reason or another, they couldn't take on the project. Spielberg then took the process into his own hands. But then Universal Studios began to doubt. They agreed to give $23 million for a black and white film about the Holocaust on the condition that Spielberg first shoot Jurassic Park. As a result, both films were released in 1993. Jurassic Park in June and Schindler's List in December. Spielberg refused his share of earnings, not wanting this, in his words, blood money. In addition, the budget was already small. Many famous actors auditioned for the lead role of Oskar Schindler, including Kevin Costner, Mel Gibson, and Warren Beatty. But the latter even went to the stage of reading the script. But according to Spielberg, Beatty was turned down because Warren would have played it like Oskar Schindler through Warren Beatty. Then Spielberg chose Liam Neeson, whom the director saw in the play Anna Christie. There's even a funny story about this decision. Neeson was backstage after the show, and Steven Spielberg, his wife Kate Capshaw, and her mother came to congratulate him. Liam, without hesitation, hugged Spielberg's mother-in-law, being half naked. Who knows, maybe the woman also somehow influenced the decision of her son-in-law. The director himself spoke about his choice as follows. Liam was the closest in my experience of what Schindler was like, Spielberg said. Quote, his charm, the way women love him, his strength. He actually looks a little bit like Schindler, the same height, although Schindler was a rotund man, he said. If I had made the movie in 1964, I would have cast Gert Frobe, the late German actor. That's what he looked like. To prepare for the role, Neeson not only listened to the recordings of Schindler himself, the director also told him to study the gestures of former Time Warner chairman Stephen J. Ross, Spielberg's mentor, and the man he dedicated the film to. To get a more personal look at the film, Spielberg traveled to Poland before filming began to interview Holocaust survivors and visit the real-life locations he planned to portray in the film. While there, he visited the former Gestapo headquarters on Pomorska Street, Schindler's actual apartment, and Amon Goeth's villa. The film was eventually shot on site for 92 days in Poland, recreating the Plaszow camp in a nearby abandoned quarry. The film crew was also allowed to shoot scenes outside the Auschwitz gate. For a better sense of reality, Spielberg initially wanted to shoot the film entirely in Polish and German, using subtitles, but eventually turned it down because he thought it would reduce the relevance and importance of images on the screen. According to Spielberg, "I wanted people to watch the images, not read the subtitles. There's too much safety in reading. It would have been an excuse to take their eyes off the screen and watch something else." Spielberg found it so difficult to shoot the picture that the only thing that kept him afloat at the time was calls from his friend actor Robin Williams. Robin knew what I was going through, and once a week Robin would call me on schedule and he'd do 15 minutes of stand-up on the phone. I would laugh hysterically because I had to release so much. But Neeson was then more concerned about his new romance with Natasha Richardson. He still didn't quite understand where this relationship was going, and therefore didn't express his emotions much. So on the actress's 30th birthday, Liam sent her a fax with the words, "You're catching up with me. Lots of love, Oskar." Natasha was disappointed with this message, considering it too platonic, and in response to it asked about the status of their couple. Neeson later admitted, "That was when I knew I really loved this person. I thought this is real and genuine, and is something that has to be protected." After that, Natasha came to Poland to stay with her beloved. Eyewitnesses noted that this visit was very inspiring for the actor. One evening, Liam and his co-star, Ralph Fiennes, took Natasha to a local restaurant where they often ate with the entire team. In the middle of the evening, Richardson took to the stage and sang, maybe this time with cabaret. Fiennes later admitted that Neeson was happy to look at his beloved. Therefore, after filming, it was no wonder that the couple moved in together. As for the film, Schindler's List became the main winner of the 66th Academy Awards. In total, the film won 7 Oscars, including Spielberg's awards for Best Film and Best Director. Neeson and Fiennes were also nominated for their roles, and the film also received approval for costume design, makeup, and sound. In 2007, AFI ranked Schindler's List 8th on its list of the 100 best American films.
They fear us because we have the power to kill arbitrarily. A man commits a crime, he should know better. We have him killed and we feel pretty good about it. Or we kill him ourselves and we feel even better. It's not power, though. That's justice. It's different than power.
From the heavy film about the Holocaust, Neeson switched to Jodie Foster's drama, Nell. Of course, Richardson, who did not want to part with her lover, auditioned and received the main female role, the hermit Paula Olsen. "It was difficult to kind of go, 'Bye, honey, have fun with the other girls,' she said. 'I thought I would do anything to play this part.'" By the way, as a result, the film became very successful at the box office, collecting more than $106 million at the global box office, with a production of $24.5 million. Although the film received mixed reviews from critics after its release. It was praised for its directing and music, but criticized for the limited disclosure of the main character. However, the criticism did not affect the large number of nominations for both the drama itself and the main actress, who almost received an Oscar and a Golden Globe for her role. However, back to the set of the movie. Filming took place in North Carolina, so the couple rented a house. Richardson often hosted dinners there for her friends on the film crew. She loved being a hostess and creating family comfort. Neeson was more silent, but he always sat on the right hand of his beloved, supporting her and falling in love more and more. Natasha made it clear that she was ready to start a family, have children, and all this she wanted to implement with Liam. He hesitated a little more because it was psychologically difficult for him to give up his life as a recluse. Even during filming, he found a moment to be alone, discovering a new hobby, fishing. But the actor understood that he would have to give in to his principles if he did not want to lose the love of his life. So after filming ended, Neeson invited Natasha to a Chinese restaurant and proposed to her. The couple, who were sitting next to each other at another table, heard the conversation of the star couple, and in the morning the press was full of bright headlines about the engagement of the actors. Soon after, there was talk of Neeson playing the iconic 007 character, which eventually went to Pierce Brosnan. But his fiancée was against it and said that a potential job could affect their lives.
However, my dear departed wife did say to me, we were doing a movie together in South Carolina. And she says, "Darling, if you're offered James Bond and you're going to play it, you're not going to marry me." So any time we had arguments after that, I would always go up to her and go, ding, 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 ding.
Keeping the wedding ceremony a secret, Neeson took care of additional security measures. All those invited swore to remain silent about where and when the solemn event will take place. An old estate dating back to 1810, which the couple bought for $4 million in Millbrook near New York, served as an excellent location for the ceremony. Trees were planted along the fence, and security guards were hired for the wedding. All Irish relatives arrived a few days before the celebration, and those who stayed in Ballymena kept their mouths shut about the date and place of the ceremony, although journalists offered them a lot of money for information. 6 weeks before the wedding on Natasha's 31st birthday, Neeson decided to correct the mistake with last year's meaningless facts, and this time he wrote a beautiful note with his own hand where he confessed his feelings and also wrote about all the locations where the couple should spend their honeymoon, and put this letter under the pillow of his beloved. And 3 weeks before the wedding, already on Liam's birthday, Richardson gave him a vintage motorcycle, a 1989 Harley-Davidson Softail Springer. Everything went according to plan. Preparations for the wedding were almost complete, but a few days before the scheduled date, someone leaked information to the CNN press service. After learning about this, Neeson made sure that no journalist could take photos of the ceremony. The fence has been raised and the security has been increased, and it worked. Not a single paparazzi managed to see the festive event with at least one eye. More than 70 guests were invited to the ceremony, including such stars as Emma Thompson, Steven Spielberg, Ralph Fiennes, and Mia Farrow. And Natasha surprised the groom by singing him Van Morrison's song, Crazy Love. Behind my back, Natasha had been taking singing lessons to sing it to me. After the ceremony, we were all going out to start the night's festivities, and she grabbed the microphone and she sang me this. She had learned it, and I was like, wow. For their honeymoon, the couple went first to Venice and then to the south of France. These few weeks, they say, were magical, and love blossomed even more. But it was just a short break before work. Soon, Neeson flew to Scotland for a month to shoot Rob Roy, and Natasha returned to New York for the premiere of her late father's latest film. Liam wasn't particularly upset about their separation. On the contrary, his free nature needed a little peace and quiet. I need my own space. I'd go mad if I didn't have it. And the workflow completely absorbed the actor. Many scenes had to be shot outdoors, but the weather made it uncomfortable. Constant heavy rain and swarms of midges exhausted not only the actors but also the film crew. Such suffering still paid off with interest. Rob Roy grossed more than $58 million worldwide and received generally positive reviews from critics. Even the harsh critic Roger Ebert wrote, "This is a splendid, rousing historical adventure, an example of what can happen when the best direction, acting, writing, and technical credits are brought to bear on what might look like shop-worn material." Satisfied with the result of their work, Neeson soon returned to Natasha, and in less than a year, the couple expanded their family, welcoming their first child, a son named Mikhail, on June 22, 1995. Mikhail followed in his parents' footsteps, continuing the career as an actor, and eventually changing his last name from Neeson to Richardson in honor of her late mother. A little more than a year later, on August 27, 1996, the new parents had another son, Daniel, who would later become an athlete. "This was a bit unexpected," Richardson said. "We wanted more children, just not so close together. I mean, I had just gotten my body and my professional life back in shape when this happened." In the same year, the crime drama Before and After was released on the big screens, based on Rosalind Brown's 1992 novel of the same name. It's about two parents who have to deal with the consequences when their son is accused of murder. Despite the stellar cast, which included Meryl Streep and the young star of Terminator 2, Edward Furlong, the movie did not pay off at the box office, collecting $15 million out of $35 million spent on production. And the critics did not like it at all because of the long and boring plot. Much more successful for Neeson was the role of an Irish revolutionary who leads the struggle for Irish independence in Neil Jordan's historical drama, Michael Collins. The film was written and directed by Neil Jordan and was an international co-production between companies in Ireland and the United States, with a budget of $25 million, with 10 to 12% of the Irish Film Board. It was one of the most expensive films ever made in Ireland. During filming, due to violations of the IRA ceasefire, the film's release was postponed from June to December. It also led to the executive director of Warner Bros., Rob Friedman, insisted on refilming the ending in order to focus on the love story between Collins and Kiernan, trying to downplay the disruption of Anglo-Irish deal negotiations. On the set, Neeson met Julia Roberts again, but this time he was happily married and there could be nothing but friendly relations with his former lover. The film premiered at the Venice Film Festival, where it won the Golden Lion, and Neeson won the Volpe Cup for Best Actor, and later was even nominated for a Golden Globe. Variety's Todd McCarthy praised the actor's performance, saying, "Neeson is a compulsive dynamo as Collins, with the actor seizing his part with a passion of boldness, utterly in keeping with the character's approach to life and his cause." The film itself grossed more than $32 million worldwide and became the highest-grossing film in Ireland, although it was criticized for some historical inaccuracies. The following year, Neeson tried out a new role and appeared as Jean Valjean in the film adaptation of Victor Hugo's Les Miserables, directed by Billy August. Describing Neeson's performance, Janet Maslin of the New York Times wrote, quote, "He plays the role with the sure physical authority and profound decency that are fundamental to Valjean's character." Adding, with a first-rate cast and a venerable storytelling style, it fluently condenses Victor Hugo's epic novel and retrieves some of its suspenseful momentum. Les Miserables received generally positive reviews from critics. On review aggregator Rotten Tomatoes, the film's approval rating is 75% based on 44 reviews with an average score of 6.9 out of 10. The site's critics' consensus reads, "This intelligent, handsomely crafted adaptation of Victor Hugo's classic novel condenses the story's developments without blunting its emotional impact." The film received 65 points based on 24 reviews on Metacritic. In the same year, Neeson returned to the stage in David Hare's play, The Judas Kiss, playing the role of Oscar Wilde, which was performed both at the Almeida Theater in the West End and at the Broadhurst Theater on Broadway. In 1999, Neeson appeared in the supernatural horror film The Haunting alongside Catherine Zeta-Jones. However, that year he was remembered by the audience in a completely different image. In 1999, after a 16-year break, the long-awaited sequel to the epic Star Wars appeared on the big screens. Star Wars Episode I: The Phantom Menace. George Lucas wrote his script by hand, using only a pencil and notepad. One of the biggest influences on the creation of The Phantom Menace was the young Indiana Jones Chronicles. Not only did a significant number of the series' crew and production teams subsequently work on The Phantom Menace, but some of the techniques they perfected during the filming of the series were then used in Episode 1. Neeson appeared in the film as Jedi Master Qui-Gon Jinn. George Lucas chose Neeson because he considered him, quote, "a master actor who the other actors will look up to, who's got the qualities of strength that the character demands." Neeson's connection to Star Wars began at the Crown Bar in Belfast. Probably wouldn't have taken the role if it wasn't for the advice of Peter King in The Crown during a lyric reunion. Liam Neeson and Ewan McGregor fully embodied their images on the set. The actor recalled how he and McGregor automatically started making lightsaber sounds when they first got their intergalactic weapon for a scene on set. George Lucas said, let's cut there. Boys, we can add that in later." Neeson joked. Of course, the actors knew about this, but they couldn't resist such an imitation of sounds. By the way, during filming, Jedi and Sith went through 300 aluminum lightsaber blades. Stunt coordinator Nick Gillard helped create new lightsabers for physically and mentally intense duels. Liam's 2-year-old son, Mikhail, was also present on the set. He made his dad laugh by hugging the R2-D2 robot, which he thought was just so cute. However, Mikhail himself admitted that as a child, it was difficult for him to look at his father on big screens, and all because of the specifics of the roles. I watched all their movies, but it was kind of traumatizing at the age of 5 seeing my dad sliced in half by a lightsaber or blown up in an explosion, and also kissing somebody else. Despite mixed reviews from critics and fans, The Phantom Menace was a huge box office success and remained the most financially successful Star Wars film, excluding inflation, until 2015's Star Wars: The Force Awakens. Neeson's performance as Qui-Gon received positive reviews and was nominated for a Saturn Award. A recording of his voice from the movie The Phantom Menace can be heard during a scene in the movie Star Wars Episode II: Attack of the Clones. It was later reported that Neeson would appear in Star Wars Episode III: Revenge of the Sith, but in the end, that didn't happen. When asked if he would ever consider a miniseries for the character, Neeson replied, "Sure, I'd like to, but I'm wondering if Star Wars is starting to fade away from the cinema landscape, do you think?" However, Liam was not going to say goodbye to his character. In the animated series Star Wars: The Clone Wars, which ran from 2008 to 2020, Liam voiced Qui-Gon in 2 episodes of the 3rd season and 1 episode of the 6th season, and also voiced a cameo role as Qui-Gon in Star Wars: The Rise of Skywalker. Neeson appeared as the ghost of Qui-Gon in the latest episode of Obi-Wan Kenobi as a cameo, and later he voiced Qui-Gon again for the 2022 episode of Star Wars: Tales of the Jedi. After retiring from filming the cult blockbuster, Neeson simply couldn't help but use his pleasant baritone voice, and so took part in voicing the 2001 documentary Journey into Amazing Caves. It's a short film about 2 scientists traveling the world in search of material for potential cures. He also voiced the Endurance, Shackleton's legendary Antarctic adventure. The latter has won awards on a number of film festivals, including Best Documentary from the Chicago Film Critics Association and the National Board of Review. After that, Neeson returned to Broadway, playing in an interpretation of Arthur Miller's play The Crucible, the same one that he once abandoned for a film career. For his performance as John Proctor, he received a Tony Award nomination for Best Actor in a Play. Variety's Charles Isherwood praised Neeson, writing, "In his thoughtful performance as Proctor, the effortlessly charismatic Neeson subtly delineates a man's moral evolution as Proctor moves from casual scorn for the proceedings to outrage to soul-stricken despair," adding, "Perhaps the finest aspect of Neeson's performance is its admirable restraint." In the same year, Neeson co-starred with Harrison Ford in Kathryn Bigelow's 2002 submarine thriller K-19, The Widowmaker, as Captain Mikhail Polanin. The production of the picture cost the creators from $90 to $100 million, but it failed at the box office. Since the film was not funded by a major studio, this made it one of the most expensive independent films to date. The film was shot in Canada and Russia. The producers made some effort to work with the original K-19 group, which criticized the first version of the script and called for Russia to stop working with the directors. By the way, the nickname Widowmaker was used only in the film. In real life, the submarine had no name until the accident at the nuclear power plant on July 3, 1961, when it received the nickname Hiroshima. The film itself received mixed reviews from critics. In the same year, Neeson also appeared as Priest Vallon in Martin Scorsese's historical drama Gangs of New York, Daniel Day-Lewis, Leonardo DiCaprio, and Cameron Diaz. Scorsese's creation came hell or high water before the release on the big screen. Back in 1970, Martin came across Herbert Asbury's 1927 book, The Gangs of New York, an informal history of the underworld about the 19th century criminal world of the city, and was impressed by what he read. In Portraits of Urban Criminals, Scorsese saw the potential for an American epic about the battle for modern American democracy. Scorsese immediately contacted his friend Jay Cox, a film critic for Time magazine. 7 years after this conversation, Scorsese and Cox wrote the first draft version of the script, and in 1979, Scorsese acquired the rights to the film adaptation of Asbury's book. However, the development of production took 20 years. Eventually, in 1999, Scorsese managed to make a deal with the infamous Harvey Weinstein. Weinstein was unhappy with the original version of the script and wanted other screenwriters to be involved in its reinterpretation. In order not to anger Weinstein, who invested a lot of money in the project, Scorsese had to fire Cox. Therefore, at the time of filming, the final script was not fully completed. Hossein Amini was hired to write the last 2 parts, but was not mentioned in the credits. Filming took place in a studio in Rome where mid-19th century buildings were created in New York. Most of the actors had to practice an Irish accent, but that wasn't a problem for Neeson. Production and post-production took almost 3 years, accompanied by endless disputes between Scorsese and Weinstein. But in 2002, the film was released and collected more than $193 million at the box office. In 2003, Neeson stepped back from blockbusters and action movies and played a widowed writer in Richard Curtis's romantic comedy Love Actually. By the way, Neeson will soon have to try on the role of a widower in real life, but more on that later. The film was full of Hollywood stars. However, they shot the scenes separately, even though they had a large trailer park for all the actors. Bill Nye said, "There were so many famous people in there. We used to talk about being on Liam Neeson Way or Emma Thompson Road or Hugh Grant Avenue, and it was a masterpiece of diplomacy too. We all had the same size and type of trailer." The film was a commercial success and has since become a cult classic and a must-watch movie for Christmas. In March 2017, at the celebration of Red Nose Day, Curtis and several members of the original cast, including Neeson, again played their characters in the short film Red Nose Day, which showed the audience the fate of the characters after the first picture. I would never have dreamt of writing a sequel to Love Actually, but I thought it might be fun to do 10 minutes to see what everyone's up to now. Producer Richard Curtis noted when the project was announced. Who's aged the best? I guess that's the big question. Or is it so obviously Liam?
Well, we need Kate, and we need Leo, and we need them now. Come on.
The actor also played Alfred Kinsey in the biographical drama Kinsey. Neeson was nominated for a Golden Globe Award for Best Actor in a Drama Film, losing to Leonardo DiCaprio for The Aviator. On Rotten Tomatoes, 90% of critics gave the film a positive review with an average score of 7.66 out of 10. The site's critics' consensus reads, "A biopic of the sex researcher is hailed as adventurous, clever, and subversive with fine performances by Liam Neeson and Laura Linney." And Roger Ebert even compared Neeson's performance to Russell Crowe's in the 2001 biopic A Beautiful Mind. In the same year, Neeson switched slightly from dramatic roles and became the host of an episode of the NBC sketch show Saturday Night Live. There, he played the role of poor trucker Marlon Weaver in the sketch Appalachian Emergency Room, and a hippie in a sketch about 2 stoners. The other is played by Amy Poehler, who try to borrow a dog from police officers to find their lost stash of pot. Despite the fact that he promised not to reproduce any Irish stereotypes, Neeson still played an Irishman named Larkin McArdle in a parody of the show about home renovation. You call this a house, do you?
What's all this, sir?
I'm building Finn McQuinn. We're here to make over your home.
You want a medal for that, do you? Do you want me to do a jig for you?
You could say thanks.
I could, but I'm not gonna.
Fair enough. Care to show us around?
All right, keep your shirt on.
In addition to comedy sketches on SNL, Liam managed to play several roles in blockbusters. He portrayed Godfrey of Evelyn in Ridley Scott's epic adventure film Kingdom of Heaven, Ra's al Ghul, one of the main villains in Christopher Nolan's action film Batman Begins, and Father Liam in the film adaptation of Patrick McCabe's novel Breakfast on Pluto by Neil Jordan. Neeson agreed to the role in Batman only because of a good script, because he was not a fan of comics about a famous character. The actor also enjoyed working with Nolan. Christopher's quite laid back. He's meticulously prepared, which is very important. He loves the actor's input, and unlike a lot of directors, he stands beside the camera, the actor noted. Neeson was very sorry that he didn't have the opportunity to work directly with Morgan Freeman, Gary Oldman, and Michael Caine, but was satisfied with the experience of working in this film. However, there were also some controversial issues.
Christian and I have this fight on this ice floe that was shot beside this huge glacier that kept moving every 5 or 6 inches every day, so it was quite intimidating and a little bit scary.
As for the drama Breakfast on Pluto by Neil Jordan, we talked about it in more detail in the biography of Cillian Murphy. We'll leave a link for you in the description below this video. This and other films in which Neeson starred at that time were successful at the box office and received positive reviews from critics. But Neeson didn't stop there. In the same 2005, he replaced Brian Cox voicing Lion Aslan in the science fiction adventure film The Chronicles of Narnia, The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, an adaptation of the book of the same name by C.S. Lewis. Interestingly, the actor was introduced to the work of the writer by his son.
He turned me on to the Chronicles of Narnia at the age of 9. He had read all the books by that stage. I hadn't read any of them.
For Neeson, the voice acting of such a complex character was very interesting. He admired Lewis's skill in portraying Aslan, saying, "He hasn't just made Aslan Christ-like, he's made him Muslim. He's Muhammad, he's Buddha. He's the figurehead of all the great religions in the world in him, and they still touch us as human beings." Liam regretted not being able to interact directly with the actors on set, instead recording his voice in the studio, and he only watched the final product in a movie theater wearing 3D glasses for the first time in his life.
Welcome, Peter, son of Adam. Welcome, Susan and Lucy, daughters of Eve. And welcome to you, Beavers. You have my thanks.
Following the example of many Hollywood stars, Neeson also appeared in an episode of the famous Simpsons, The Father, the Son, and the Holy Guest Star, where he voiced a kind of priest who briefly converted Bart and Homer to Catholicism. This, by the way, was not the only mention of Neeson in the animated universe. A few years later, in another cult TV series, Family Guy, a character appeared in a cowboy outfit who very much resembled Liam and spoke with an Irish accent.
He did, yeah. My boys came back from school one day, this was a few years ago, and said, Dad, you're on Family Guy. I said, hey, what is Family Guy?
So when Family Guy creator Seth MacFarlane invited the actor to play a cowboy in his comedy A Million Ways to Die in the West in 2013, he agreed only if he spoke with an Irish accent. As you can see, Neeson still has a sense of humor. Let's go back to 2007, where Liam took part in the voice acting in the video game Fallout 3, where he gave his voice to the father of the main character. Executive producer Todd Howard said, "This role was written with Liam in mind and provides the dramatic tone for the entire game." The third part of the game in the Fallout series was extremely well received by critics and sold 4.7 million copies by the end of 2008 when it was released. In the meantime, we'll move on to our last section. Check if you're already subscribed to our channel and don't forget about the bell so you never miss new videos. Well, that's it. Then let's continue. In 2008, Liam Neeson shocked the world with his impressive career change when the movie Taken turned him into a full-fledged action star. Known for his versatility and depth as an actor, Neeson has already demonstrated his talent by performing a wide range of roles in many genres. However, his transition to action movies came as a real surprise to his fans. Well, it's nice with these so-called action movies. I get a real kick out of being with a bunch of stunt guys, working out with them, choreographing a fight and rehearsing it, and I do like that aspect of it. The actor said, according to Neeson, such pictures require good physical fitness. I'm not interested in looking like Arnold Schwarzenegger at age 35, Liam joked, but I have a routine and I do it every day because making any film, especially if you're playing the lead, requires stamina and endurance. It can be quite demanding. Neeson's intense role in Taken not only captivated viewers, but also paved the way for a new chapter in his already distinguished career. With his charismatic appearance and great acting, Neeson has proven that age is just a number when it comes to successful changes in the film industry. Taken became a worldwide box office hit, grossing $223.9 million globally, nearly $200 million more than its production budget. Although Neeson admitted in an interview that, in his opinion, Taken distracted some people from the idea of actually traveling to Europe, this film brought the public's attention back to Neeson, which led him to being cast in many other action films. In addition, in 2012, the equally successful sequel Taken 2 was released, which collected more than $376 million, with $45 million invested, which surpassed the success of the first part. A kind of parody of his character Brian Mills was also a commercial during the Super Bowl 49 Supercell.
I don't know you, big buffet boy 85, but if you think you can humiliate me and take my gold, think again.
In the same year, 2008, he was also the narrator of the documentary Black Holes, The Other Side of Infinity, and again lent his voice to Lion Aslan in the Chronicles of Narnia, Prince Caspian. He also voiced Hayao Miyazaki's anime film Ponyo on the Cliff by the Sea, which was released in August 2009. But even before the release of the anime in March of the same year, a tragedy occurred in the Neeson family. Natasha was skiing on a beginner slope with an instructor at Mont Tremblant, Quebec, when she fell and hit her head. It was reported that the actress was not wearing a helmet. Her injury initially seemed minor, and Richardson refused to go to the hospital at least twice. Eventually, her symptoms worsened, and she was evacuated to a hospital in Montreal, where Neeson flew to meet her from the set in Toronto, where he worked. During their last phone conversation, Natasha simply told her husband, "Oh, darling, I've taken a tumble in the snow." So Liam didn't realize the seriousness of the situation. When he arrived at the hospital, the doctor informed him that his wife's brain was dead, and showed him an x-ray of her injury, which, according to the actor, showed that her brain squashed up against the side of her skull. Later, the actor admitted that his last words to his wife, who was connected to a life support device, were as follows: "Sweetie, you're not coming back from this. You've banged your head, and we're bringing you back to New York. All your family and friends will come." Neeson noted that he and Natasha said, "Any of us got into a vegetative state that we'd pull the plug." So after that, Richardson was actually transferred from a Canadian hospital to a New York one, where her loved ones said goodbye to her. Since Natasha was an organ donor, she eventually donated her heart, kidneys, and liver. Richardson was then returned to the suburbs of New York to be buried near their home, where family and friends paid tribute to the actress. Her family released a statement 2 days after her fatal fall, which they confirmed led to her death at the age of 45 due to an epidural hematoma. Liam Neeson, his sons, and the entire family are shocked and devastated by the tragic death of their beloved Natasha. It was noted in the statement. They are profoundly grateful for the support, love, and prayers of everyone, and ask for privacy during this very difficult time. For the first time, Neeson spoke about his feelings about the death of his wife only in an interview in 2014. The actor admitted that her presence never seemed real to him. For the first few years after her death, he still expected to hear her footsteps at the front door as he once did. Grief's like, it hits you. It's like a wave. You just get this profound feeling of instability. You feel like a three-legged table, just suddenly the earth isn't stable anymore. And then it passes and becomes more infrequent. But I still get it sometimes. He also later admitted that his late wife was still present in his life and played an important role in it. "I speak to her every day at her grave, which is about 1.5 miles down the road," he told the outlet. "I go down there quite often, so I do speak to her as if she's here. Not that she answers me." His sons also had a hard time with their mother's death. The eldest son, Mikhail, said, "In my mind, subconsciously, I either pushed it out or stored it deep inside. And so within the next week, I was like, okay, on with my life." He said her death eventually caught up with him, explaining, "Things just started going downhill. The people I was with, we were partying a lot. It was dark. I hit rock bottom." Mikhail eventually overcame his grief and changed his last name from Neeson to Richardson in 2018, saying it was a way to honor her and her side of the family and carry on the name. The father supported this decision of his son, noting, quote, "I think he did the right thing. It was a lovely homage. Natasha's family, mother, and sisters were very touched by it, as indeed I was." As for Daniel, the youngest son, he didn't speak as publicly about his mother as his brother did. However, he shared a post on Instagram in 2018 to mark the 9th anniversary of Natasha's death. 9 years stronger, he wrote alongside a photo of his mom. "No one's ever gone. They become more alive. Don't bitch to your moms because they're superheroes." After the death of his wife, Neeson plunged headlong into work to cope with grief and be close to their sons. I'm not good with that work. I just don't wallow too much, and I just didn't want to, especially for my boys seem to be wallowing in sadness or depression," noted the actor. In 2010, Neeson played the role of Zeus in the remake of the 1981 film Clash of the Titans. It was interesting for the actor to appear in such a large-scale project.
My eldest boy has studied Greek mythology and likes it very much, and it was a part of all that. It was a part of reading the script and this, Warner Brothers even considering me for the part, and getting a chance to work with friends.
The actor told the following about his character. "I'm just the king of the gods, and he formed, fashioned, created humans for his pleasure. By creating human beings, his rationale was these are my little playthings, and if they pray enough, honor us gods enough, we will become immortal." It's also interesting that actress Emma Thompson accidentally made a cameo appearance in the film while visiting her friend Liam on set. Thompson, who was filming Nanny McPhee at a nearby studio at the time, went to visit Neeson during a break when Neeson was about to shoot a scene with Ralph Fiennes and Danny Huston. Unable to leave the set quickly enough as the camera started shooting, Thompson, in her awkward Nanny McPhee costume, had to hide behind Huston's throne during filming to avoid getting caught in the shot. As for the film itself, Wrath of the Titans became a huge box office hit, grossing $475 million worldwide. Neeson also starred in Adam Egoyan's erotic thriller Chloe. The plot revolves around a gynecologist who, suspecting her husband of infidelity, hires an escort named Chloe to test his loyalty. Soon, relations between all three escalate. The thriller was a commercial success and became the biggest income of a Canadian director in history. By the way, Neeson has repeatedly admitted that he does not like erotic scenes in movies. "I'll be honest, when I see a sex scene, I just can't look at them," he said. "I just get embarrassed. I know they're choreographed and stuff, but I don't need to see that." It was during filming in this movie that the actor found out about an accident with his wife and flew to her. Filming had to be postponed due to Liam's absence. A few days after his wife's death, Neeson returned to the set and shot the rest of his scenes 2 days later. Later that year, he played the role of John Hannibal Smith in the spin-off TV series The A-Team. The actor also voiced Aslan again in the 2010 sequel, The Chronicles of Narnia: The Voyage of the Dawn Treader. At the same time, rumors began to circulate that Liam was dating Australian actress Laura Brent, his partner in the film, The Chronicles of Narnia. Neeson was seen in a candid moment with Brent on the red carpet at the film's London premiere where he embraced a woman from behind. However, it was also reported that it was cold that evening and the actor could just warm up a colleague in this way. These rumors were still not groundless because after the death of his wife, Liam was already seen in the company of a mysterious blonde, as well as with French flight attendant Leslie Slater. So Neeson did not comment on this in any way, unlike his subsequent relationship with entrepreneur Freya St. Johnston. Freya was also a single mother, so the couple quickly got together. In interviews, Liam has repeatedly called his chosen one a wonderful mother. However, the relationship lasted only 2 years, and the initiator of their termination was Neeson. He told Freya that he wants to take a break and concentrate on his family, an anonymous source told the press. The following year for Neeson was marked by participation in the action thriller film Unknown, directed by Jaume Collet-Serra. There, Liam played the role of Dr. Martin Harris, a man who woke up from a coma and discovered that his identity had been stolen, and no one believed that he was who he claimed to be. Principal shots took place in early February 2010 in Berlin at Babelsberg Studio. One of the streets of the city, Friedrichstrasse, was blocked for several nights due to the filming of a car chase. According to the film's producer, Andrew Rona, the budget was $40 million. The American company Dark Castle Entertainment contributed $30 million. German Public Film Fund supported the production and contributed more than $6 million. Viewers watched Neeson's performance, so the film grossed more than $136 million at the box office. On Rotten Tomatoes, the film has a rating of 5.8 out of 10, and critics note, Liam Neeson elevates the proceedings considerably, but Unknown is ultimately too derivative and implausible to take advantage of its intriguing premise. Unknown led to a collaboration between Neeson and Collet-Serra on a series of similar action movies, including Nonstop in 2014, Run All Night in 2015, The Commuter in 2018, and the recent 2023 Retribution. A special film for the actor was the thriller The Grey. It was a special film to shoot, Neeson said. Just personally, too. It was soon after the death of my wife. I needed to do that film, and when Joe Carnahan sent me the script, I thought, I have to do. I have to do this to channel my grief, to channel something about what's our fucking reason for being on this planet. Filming was difficult, both physically and mentally. During filming in British Columbia, the actors were extremely cold due to the low air temperatures. However, there was a friendly atmosphere on the set, and the actors supported each other. During the filming of the post-plane crash scene, Liam had to lie completely still, and just before the director shouted action, his makeup artist threw a handful of snow on his face. I was so surprised. It was like somebody throwing darts into your face, and when I sat up, the snow would fall away. The actor recalled about this experience. On January 19, 2012, British Columbia's The Province published an article about the film crew buying 4 wolf carcasses. This angered environmentalists and animal rights activists by the fact that the film portrays wolves in a negative light, especially while gray wolves are not covered by the Endangered Species Act in many states of Western America. In response to the portrayal of wolves in the film, groups including PETA and Wild Earth Guardians began boycotting the film. Carnahan responded to this criticism by saying that the film is designed to reflect the interspiritual journey of humanity. Despite such negative publicity, the film was a success at the box office, grossing more than $81 million against a production budget of $25 million. At the same time, Neeson was in talks with Steven Spielberg for the lead role in the 2012 film Lincoln. While preparing for the role, Neeson visited the District of Columbia and Springfield, Illinois, where Lincoln lived before his election, and read the former president's personal letters. Neeson eventually turned down the role, claiming that he was past his sell date and was too old for the role, and was replaced by Daniel Day-Lewis, who won his 3rd Oscar for portraying Lincoln. Instead of Lincoln, Neeson appeared in a more familiar role in Joe Carnahan's action-packed thriller The Gray. There, his hero, along with a small group of people, finds himself in the Alaskan desert after a plane crash. The film delves into themes of survival, grief, and encountering inner demons. The Gray is one of Neeson's most dramatic action movies, as his character struggles with personal loss while fighting for survival in a brutal and unforgiving environment. In the same year, Liam reappeared as Ra's al Ghul and in a cameo role in The Dark Knight Rises, the 3rd and final film in Christopher Nolan's Dark Knight trilogy. The actor spent all his free time with his sons. It's an ongoing joy being a dad. It's always a joy, but it's a joyful worry, he said in an interview at the time. No matter what age they are, they're still going to be your little boy or your little girl, and you are a hostage to love. When Liam went to work on another project, his mother-in-law, actress Vanessa Redgrave, helped with the children. His sons are also used to his busy career because Liam has worked as an actor all his life. One of them was born on location, so they're used to dad being away for long periods of time. Liam said, "So far, it's worked out okay. They're not damaged." At that time, Neeson was often seen with his sons in stadiums rooting for his native team, the New York Rangers. The trio also sat on the court at the New York Knicks games. In 2014, Neeson played the role of Bill Marks in the action film Non-Stop and Detective Matthew Scudder in the 2014 film A Walk Among the Tombstones. In Non-Stop, Neeson appears as a former NYPD officer who was demoted to federal air marshal due to his alcohol problems. He must find the killer on an international flight from New York to London after receiving text messages that someone on board will be executed every 20 minutes until their demands are met. The film was shot at a film studio in New York and then at JFK Airport. The thriller found its audience and collected more than $223 million worldwide. However, critics were not thrilled with the film, noting, while Liam Neeson is undoubtedly an asset, Non-Stop wastes its cast. Not to mention its solid premise and tense setup on a poorly conceived story that hinges on a thoroughly unbelievable final act. How does an actor choose which projects to participate in and which ones to abandon? Neeson has his own method for this, which he calls the cup of tea test. If my agent sends me a script and I get to page 5 and I think, "Oh, I must make some tea," that's not a good sign, said the actor. On the other hand, if he can read the script from start to finish and only mention a cup of tea at the end, then that's a good sign. Since he gained fame as an action thriller star, viewers, especially recently, could see Neeson in such films as Widows 2018, Cold Pursuit 2019, Honest Thief 2020, The Ice Road 2021, Marlowe 2022, In the Land of Saints and Sinners 2024, and many others. So, during the promotion of the thriller Cold Pursuit, in which Liam plays a man who takes revenge for the murder of his son, in a scandalous interview for The Independent, Neeson said that he understood the initial motivation that his character feels. "God forbid you've ever had a member of your family hurt under criminal conditions," he said, before recounting the story of that time. Many years ago, when he returned from abroad and discovered that a woman he knew well had been abused. After talking to a friend and learning that the culprit was a black man, Neeson ran around the city in search of him with one thought in his head: to kill the scumbag who did it. "It took me a week, maybe a week and a half to go through that," the actor noted. "She would say, 'Where are you going?' And I would say, 'I'm just going out for a walk.' 'What's wrong?' 'No, nothing's wrong." Later, the star regretted this episode in his life very much. It was horrible. Horrible when I think back that I did that. And it's not surprising because Neeson isn't a fan of violent methods. Despite the fact that his characters do not leave the house without weapons in their hands, Neeson himself opposes what he sees as an unlimited right to own firearms in the United States. The actor called U.S. gun ownership laws a disgrace in an interview with the Emirati newspaper Gulf News. Answering a question about the 2015 Charlie Hebdo shooting, in response, the American arms manufacturer Para USA, which supplied the prop weapons used by Neeson in the Taken franchise, said, "We will no longer provide firearms for use in films starring Liam Neeson, and ask that our friends and partners in Hollywood refrain from associating our brand and products with his projects." But for the actor, this was not a problem because recently he announced that he wanted to leave the action genre. "I think the action movies will draw to a close. They have to," he said. "Audiences aren't stupid, you know? They're gonna go, oh, fuck this guy, Liam Neeson. He's gotta be 71, 72, 73. I'll stop at some stage." Maybe he shouldn't have such thoughts because it's in this genre that he has the most fans. What do you think? Write in the comments.
Everything's sold out. Well, I guess we could see Mistletoe. What's that about?
I guess it's Liam Neeson. He's a tow truck driver who's on his way home for Christmas with his kids and happens along some terrorists who've hijacked a mobile ICBM. So he hooks it to his rig and has to get it to NORAD before Christmas morning. I hear it's really good.
Neeson's views on other social issues are also unambiguous. So in 2016, he became the narrator in a video for Amnesty International in support of legalizing abortion in Ireland, which some conservative and pro-life commentators called anti-Catholic. Neeson was also opposed to Brexit, saying it would be truly a shame to sacrifice all the progress that has been made by the peace process regarding border controls. But in September 2017, Neeson compared the presidency of Donald Trump in the United States to the Watergate scandal of Richard Nixon. Democracy works, and no man, and certainly not the president, is above the law. He has to be accountable. In addition to action movies, Neeson's latest films are also a few dramas. So in 2016, Neeson reunited with director Martin Scorsese in the drama, an adaptation of the novel Silence, starring Andrew Garfield and Adam Driver. As is often the case with Scorsese, the pre-production phase of the film went through a cycle that consisted of more than 2 decades of failure and reevaluation. During shooting, the film crew encountered some difficulties. As the weather was constantly changing, there were inconsistencies in terms of lighting. It was decided to shoot some scenes at night which were illuminated either at dusk or at sunset. The cinematography was well rewarded with an Academy Award nomination. In addition, the film itself received critical acclaim, and both the National Review Board and the American Film Institute selected Silence as one of the top 10 films of the year. However, the film was a box office bomb, grossing only $22 million against a budget of $50 million. Neeson also appeared in the romantic drama Ordinary Love with Leslie Manville, which depicts an unusual look at the life of a middle-aged couple in the midst of his wife's breast cancer. The film pleasantly impressed critics, and the audience's reviews for it were very positive. In 2022, Neeson could also be seen on television where he played Chief Inspector Byers in the teen sitcom Derry Girls 2022. Although the Derry Girls storylines are fictional, the series often references the real-life events of the turmoil and peace process in Northern Ireland, including the IRA's announcement of a ceasefire in 1994, the visit of President Bill Clinton and First Lady Hillary Clinton to Northern Ireland in 1995, and the 1998 Good Friday Agreement. Derry Girls were inspired to create a mural depicting their main characters, painted on the side of the Badger's Bar and Restaurant at 18 Orchard Street in Derry, which has become a popular tourist attraction. The series became super popular in Ireland, and on Rotten Tomatoes, the 3rd season has a 100% approval rating with an average rating of 8.9 out of 10. As you can see, Neeson has been choosing projects and roles correctly lately. However, in addition to his career, the star also has a number of hobbies outside of the entertainment industry. Some of these interests allowed him to explore various aspects of his personality and contribute to his overall fulfilling life. One of Liam Neeson's famous hobbies is horse riding. He's very fond of horses and often talks about his connection with them. In fact, he has a farm in upstate New York where he breeds and raises horses. Neeson's passion for horse riding prompted him to participate in documentaries about equestrian sports. Neeson does not forget about his long-standing passion for boxing. Of course, he no longer enters the ring, but he likes to practice this sport to keep fit and for his own pleasure. In his 70s, he also still rides a motorcycle, enjoying the headwind and freedom. However, in addition to physical development, the actor does not forget about mental development. He still loves to read very much, which helps him in his work as well. He's also voiced several audiobooks, been the narrator of many documentaries, and participated in literary projects. Neeson doesn't forget about other people either. The actor takes an active part in various charity events. He supported initiatives such as cancer research, building children's hospitals, and organizing humanitarian aid. Neeson's dedication to philanthropy has prompted him to use his celebrity status to raise awareness and fund important social and humanitarian issues. Liam is also still close to his sons. He supports their endeavors and gives advice. His eldest son, Mikhail, worked in the fashion industry before starting his career in Hollywood, interning at Savile Row and Celine, and then working as a fashion gallery curator. Since 2013, he's joined the family business, appearing in Anchorman 2, The Legend Continues, and the 2020 TV show Big Dogs. He even starred in 2 films with his father, 2019's Cold Pursuit and Made in Italy. Liam insisted that there was no nepotism in the casting of Cold Pursuit, but explained why playing with his son was so special. "We didn't have to pretend to have a relationship, you know what I mean?" He told the Irish Post in 2019. "Mikhail is my son, and he's got some of my body language, and I've got some of his, so I think that comes across. It was a no-brainer with regard to acting with him. It was just having a regular conversation with your boy." Mikhail likes working with his dad too, and their bond gets stronger over the years. "Recently, I'm seeing him as less of a dad and more as a close friend," Mikhail told People while promoting his and Liam's 2020 movie Made in Italy. "A lot of people think he's quite intimidating because he's done all these action thrillers, but he's just a big lovable Irish bear. He's a charmer." The youngest son, Daniel, is also close to his father. He received a bachelor's degree in theater and digital media production, and while still a college student, he launched an eco-friendly charity clothing line called Pine Outfitters. He then joked about his admiration that it was a big cliche, another celebrity's son doing a fashion line. Daniel also admitted that he thought fashion was the last industry he would take on. "I was a massive athlete. I loved to play sports like hockey and soccer, tennis and football and all that," he said. "I always wanted to be a producer in the entertainment industry, or a hockey player, or something like that." However, he noted that his father proudly advertised his clothing line, as did the Donata non-additive tequila brand, which he founded in 2021 with his friend Adam Millman. Daniel has repeatedly said that he's proud that Neeson is not just a supportive father, but he's been very supportive in terms of the business as well. So, as you can see, although acting remains Liam Neeson's main profession and source of fame, his family still comes first. What to expect from the actor next? Now that he may be turning down hero roles in action movies, he's finally trying to go to the comedic route. I've been approached by Seth MacFarlane and Paramount Studios to maybe resurrect the Naked Gun films. The actor recently said, joking, "It'll either finish my career or bring it in another direction. I honestly don't know." Well, let's see if Neeson changes his role. That's all for today. We hope we've answered all your questions. If not, write in the comments what we forgot to talk about, and you can also watch another star biography that appeared on your screen. Biographer channel was with you. See you soon.